in the new Costa Blanca. Join the boys in the sun and explore all that Spain has to offer.
When people come to Spain, they see these, and often they have a bit of a laugh with them. But you see, there is history in these. A baron, as in the baron drum, right? They used to be made out of leather, which gave the wine a special flavour. It would go on the side of your horse. You'd carry it out into the desert lands. It would keep the wine cool. And when you pour a glass of something, you tend to think, well, I'll finish the glass. With this, you just have a mouthful. Keeps you going, you see, in arid times. Of course, it takes a certain amount of expertise. Are you ready for this? Right. You run the programme, and I'll change my shirt. 6.5 kilometres of golden sand, Spain's tourist capital, and dozens of skyscrapers. It could only be Benidorm. Well, other places like Miami have done it. They've stuck skyscrapers up next to beaches. Why not? There's a couple of interesting stories about this place. Benidorm, we know that Beni in Arabic is son of. It's a sort of Darren, son of Darren, who came and set up that. No, you imagine an Arab called Darren. All right, Daz. Hey, not so bad, pal. Just going to conquer Spain, right? Oh, Daz. Anyway, it became Benidorm. Interestingly, and it does test the imagination, about the time I was born, this was a tiny little fishing village. Changed a bit since then, but there's a sort of tradition in Spain that a father gives his first son the good growing land, the agricultural land, as an inheritance. And then as he has more sons, those sons inherit land closer and closer and closer to the sea. So the last son inherited the beach, more or less. And it was a bit of an insult. But they had the last laugh here because those sons are now mega rich because they sold their land for tourism. Now, another good story. There's a mountain just outside Benidorm. In fact, we saw it on the way here. It has a bit cut out. Now, the story is that there was this giant who lived a lonely life. I don't know his name, but for some reason I'm going to call him Darren. And one day he met a beautiful girl, and he fell in love, and she fell in love with him, and they lived happily ever after until one day she came round and said, Dazza, I'm not feeling right today. I think I'll die when the sun sets behind that mountain. And he said, oh, blimey, flipping heck, Chuck, and I was going to go to the pictures. Anyway, as the sun started to set behind the mountain, he wanted her to live a few moments longer. So he ripped that chunk of mountain out and threw it into the sea. There it is! She did indeed live for a few moments longer, but then passed away. Hey, that's really got you, hasn't it? You're an old romantic, aren't you? Well, a young romantic. A new romantic, like Temple Tudor and all that. It is actually very upsetting when someone close to you dies. And you are close to me. Physically. And if you don't get a grip, you'll be the next one to cop for it. Do some pictures. But even in Benidorm, you can find some history. Look on top of yonder hill, a lookout tower. ready to spot the pirate attacks. In fact, up until 1812, this place had a fort, but the English and the French blew it to bits, so it's no longer there. 100 years ago, an entrepreneur put on a daily stagecoach to bring tourists into the area, but nobody wanted to come. The German SS during the Second World War took their rest and relaxation here. Amazing, but true. And only 30 years ago, Rose Macaulay, writing about this place, said, "It's a tiny village packed round its beautiful domed church on a rocky outcrop." That's the rocky outcrop, and that's the new Benidorm behind it. I think it's fair to say it's had a bit of a shake-up. Shake-up cocktails!
Okay, this time we're going to make pineapple shake. Pineapple shake is a cocktail you use in the blender and it's non-alcoholic. It's a very nice cocktail. First of all, as we've seen in other programs, you put the ice into the blender, make it cold, that's cheap enough. Then you can cut a wedge or cut the small pieces and then put them into the blender, miss that one out, not to worry. Alright, dash of milk, dash of pineapple juice, and top with cream. Somebody's moved my cream. Where is my cream? Once again, we always tend to use squirty cream for the simple and easy part of using it. Put the top, put the lid on it, make sure it's safely closed. Maximum speed, there we go! About 25 seconds should be enough. So that's ready, a little bit more. Done! Very simple, take the top off. These machines, we have it ready. Nice, creamy, fruity. Couple lump of ice. We missed those two. Not to worry. Just be careful when you drink it. Don't swallow them. Put it back on. I see you look very enthusiastic about it. And that's ready. Don't swallow the ice. Well, I expect at least 9. 7. Again.
This is Calpe. I know that because it's written on the floor. Look, it's been done for me in the tiles. Curly K. A. L. P. The air's missing. But it doesn't matter. Local dialect, they call it Calp. Outsiders like me, we call it Calpe. It's very similar to somewhere I've been to before. You know what that is, don't you? It's Gibraltar. Get him to do a map. Go on, put up right. Now, show us where Calpe is. Now go down the map, further, further, further to Gibraltar. Yes! The original Calpe. Hold on a minute. That map's made out of sweetie papers. You're eating sweets whilst you're doing the graphics. And there's another thing. Show us where Benidorm is. We've gone north. That's your fault. Now then, Calpe means hollow rock. It is similar to the Rock of Gibraltar. Of course, Gibraltar was one of the columns of Hercules. And Hercules put a message around the columns in an S shape that said, "Do not go beyond here." That S, with the column going through the middle, became the symbol for the United States dollar. Ha! I'll bet you didn't. You not only knew you had a dollar with you. Right, okay then. Phoenicians, they settled there. So did the Iberians, of course. They traded in salted fish. When the Romans came, they'd have done a bit of business with them, after beating them about the head a bit, of course. A great lookout point, 1,200 feet high. You could see anyone coming for miles, couldn't you? Light a fire, warn the people in the village. Quick, Mrs. Trollope, it's not your husband. It's all right, you don't understand. It's something I used to do with the other one. Nowadays, this is the symbol for the entire Costa Blanca. Solid as a rock, shining in the sun. Brilliant. It's a bit like me. Now, see if you can do end of part with sweetie wrappers. I like to set a challenge. Alone on the beach, just me and several hundred tons of seaweed. Swept in by the storm, but soon to be swept away again so that people can enjoy their hulls. Look, they have little round furry bits. Aren't they cute? They're a bit like tennis balls. Have you noticed how the rock is completely different from this side? Bizarre, but it does remind me of Gibraltar. And I remember well being frightened there.
What? What do you mean I wouldn't like it? Don't be daft. We've been to all sorts of places together. Some of them good, some of them bad. Of course I'd like it.
Love on the rock. Hey, this is a proper little holiday town, you know. You can have yourself a bit of a beachy holiday here. Do you know that Spain has a population of 38 million people, but during the holiday period, 48 million people come here? That's double the population plus 10. If you are going to have a beachy holiday, remember the 3 flags. Blue means top quality, dead safe to swim. Yellow means only if you're a good swimmer. Red means don't go in under any circumstances. A top tip, free of charge. What? You want your money back? What's going on? That never used to happen. Okay, then there's your $1. What? Interest? Right, okay then. In fact, if you're going to be that tight, why don't you take all 3 of them? Tying in beautifully the first of our 5 words, money.
Dinero.
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 Is that just like a general word for money?
Yeah, like money is.
Okay, fine. Far.
Lejos.
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 Okay. And near?
Cerca.
Say it again.
Cerca.
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 Okay. And travel.
Viajar.
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 Some of it sounds very African. Is there a lot of Arabic in the Spanish, you know, because they were here for so long?
Some.
Just a little bit.
But there is some.
Okay. And bank is the final one.
Banco.
Banco. So we've finally got our direction correct, have we? We are heading south, yes? Jolly good. Hey, Altea. Mwah! Beautiful place, this. Big for the Greeks, big for the Phoenicians, big for the Romans, and huge for the Arabs. Actually, it's only tiny, but it's really nice. Let's break off from its history for a moment and look at this church. Once again, a Christian and a Muslim place of worship. Now, the blue tiles are sort of Mediterranean Spanish blue tiles, which are common. But the blue domes like that usually depicts, and this is about as usually as you can get in Spanish Mediterranean law, usually depicts a Christian church that's been built on a mosque. What? You knew all of that already. Shall we just assume that 1 or 2 people don't know as much as you? That would be an interesting rule to use, wouldn't it? Right. When the Moors were actually thrown out, they built a wall around this place to keep them out. Philip II realised that the people here were having a bit of a hard time from pirates, so he built a whole series of towers down the coast, watchtowers. He also started work on a fort, but getting the materials to the fort was a bit tricky, so he he gave up on it. Now, the Spanish War of Secession, which was at the beginning of the 1700s, Archduke Charles of Austria comes to Spain to take his rightful place on the throne, as he believes. And he brings his armada, and where does he sail them into? Yes, Altea Harbour, he did. From here, he set forth attacking Spain and took Valencia. These days, it's a little more peaceful. It's full of artists, like myself, don't say the obvious, who enjoy the atmosphere and the beauty of it. They say it's kissed by whitewash. Hey, guess who hid behind that tree before me? Christine Keeler. You do know, Chris, the Perfumo scandals. You know all about that with the... She was gorgeous. Anyway, she came to Spain to get away from it all, the paparazzi and everything. She was here for a couple of weeks, then they found her. Was it really that long ago? I suppose you were just a twinkle in your granddad's viewfinder, weren't you? Anyway, I'll tell you. Another one of these stupid top tip things. I wanted to go on all about Altea. Look here, tatty features. I do the top tips, not you. Stop sneaking them in as per part one. What's he sent this by, eh? Cable. Hire cars is this one. You can get a small car here for about 65 to 90 quid a week, depends on the season, from the airport or in most towns on the coast. You need passport, driving licence to get one, plus you got to be over 25, no probs for you, and had a licence for 2 years. You can get a moped, but be warned, big style. People get on them in their t-shirt and shorts, have a wobble, even if they're going dead slow, and skin yourself like a grape on a cheese grater. It costs a bomb that must be, in hospital having skin grafts, so don't. Put jeans and a jacket on, except you, 'cause for you I don't care, big head. Well, he did get out of bed the wrong side this morning, didn't he? Well, after that tasteful little moment, let's do some foodie bits. Now, since I've been in Spain, I've learnt a few things about this country. I may or may not have already mentioned this, but it is a bit of a shocker to me. They grow their own rice. Boy, do they. You go in the supermarket, there are dozens of different kinds, all served for different things, like this. It is a sort of risotto. It looks a bit like a paella, but it's just vegetables. Yes, Jaime?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and this is what's in it, basically. Cauliflower, selection of beans, artichoke, some spring onions, tomato, pepper, and what's this?
Baby garlic.
Baby garlic, really?
Fresh baby garlic.
It's just chopped in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it's got a bit of a colour.
Color who is saffron.
Saffron.
Saffron, yes.
Okay, well that looks absolutely lovely. And does the rice grow in a particular area of Spain?
Well, mainly around Valencia, who is the Albufera. They call the Albufera Valencia.
Yeah.
Then close to Portugal as well, the Extremadura region. Murcia, that particular one is from Murcia as well.
This one?
Yes, that's from Murcia. And Spain is probably the second most famous country after China for rice.
You see, you live and learn, don't you? I'm just doing a spot of composing. That's what Altea's all about, you see. In fact, I've been making a few notes about some of the places we've been to. I tell you what, get your mate back in the control room to put some pictures to this little lot. We've been to Moreira, Peniscola, Montenegro, Sagunta, Valencia, Zativa, Cullera, Gandia, Benissa, Cata, Benidorm, and here. Did he keep up? I didn't think he would have done. So I tell you what, get Ethan to do some nice music and lay some proper pictures over the top, showing where we've been.
we've been talking to Brits out here during this series, we've generally been talking to people who are getting on in the years, I think it's fair to say. But of course, some Brits come over here and bring children with them. Simone Atkinson came out when you were 6 years old,
Yeah.
from Exeter.
Yeah.
And am I right in saying you didn't speak a word of Spanish?
Not a word.
So one day, you were taken to school, a Spanish school, put inside, the gate closed, because they do lock the gate here,
Yeah,
don't they?
they do.
And you had to fend for yourself.
Absolutely.
What was
Yeah.
that like?
Oh, for the first 2 or 3 months, I did sign languages with the rest of the kids because I couldn't communicate with them. But I was learning with the rest of them to read, to write. So, at the end of the day, bit by bit, I got better and better. And now I speak fluent Spanish, so I don't give it another thought.
So your mates at school, because some of them are English like you as
Yeah.
well, aren't they? But
Yeah.
do you speak English to them, or do you speak Spanish to them?
Well, if we're in a group with other Spanish people, we tend to speak in Spanish so they can understand, so they don't feel left out. But if there's just the two of us in just the two of us together, we just speak in English. So we vary, really.
Do you study English at school?
Yes, I do.
So that must be nice.
Oh yes, top grades.
Absolutely. And you're now, because the schooling is different,
Yes.
you're now ready to go on to your A's. You don't do a sort of GCSE equivalent, do you?
No, we just do some special exams just before we go into university. That's all. The rest of the years are just normal exams, week after week. Just to see if you pass a subject. It's no special thing.
And how do you see yourself now? Do you see yourself as a Spaniard or as an English person? Or as Dutch, because your mother's Dutch, isn't
Yeah, I think I see myself as Spanish, and because when I leave the house, it's just all Spanish environment. I don't give it another thought. It doesn't bother me at all.
Have you been back to Exeter?
No. Been here 9 years and I haven't been back since.
And would you want to go back? You think when you get, the age that you can leave home on your own?
Yeah, maybe just for a visit, because I remember certain things about it, and I would like to go back and see what it's like now. Yeah.
And what are you going to do? I mean, obviously you've got this gift, which is language.
Yeah.
You've got the Dutch, you've got the Spanish and the English. What are you going to do?
I do want to have translating involved in my career, but I don't have a specific idea yet. I'll just carry on studying and see what happens.
So, from your experience, is it a good thing for a child to experience another country?
Yes, I think it's excellent. Before, I just didn't think really it was a big thing, but now I realise that having 2 or 3 languages in my case, it's very handy, very handy.
I'll bet. I'm very, very jealous. So, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
15 years old and she already speaks 3 languages. Brilliant, eh? When I think about that first eye, 115 and only had 3 brain cells, couldn't even speak 1 language properly, and I don't care if he bins me because it's the end of the programme. His cat had fleas, his budgie was flat. He says, get him out of the way and end with something attractive, eh?